The desert stretches endlessly under a pale, wavering light, the horizon barely discernible as heat shimmers across the dunes. Shadows twist and stretch over the rippled sand, every undulation catching and scattering the sun's glow in shifting patterns. A subtle wind rises, brushing across the grains, lifting them in silent whispers, forming miniature waves that crest and fall, as if the desert itself were breathing. The air is heavy and dry, carrying the faint scent of dust and distant stone, and in this vast expanse the quiet is almost tangible, pressing against the senses. Sparse vegetation clings stubbornly to life, tufts of coarse grass, stunted shrubs, and the occasional twisted acacia, their gnarled forms casting long, angular shadows that stretch like dark fingers across the sand. The desert's surface is a mosaic of textures, soft dunes interspersed with cracked earth, scattered rocks glinting faintly in the light. Each movement of the wind reshapes the landscape, and with every shift, the emptiness seems more profound, more forbidding. The sun dips lower, painting the sand with streaks of gold and amber. But even as the colors deepen, the desert holds a latent, almost imperceptible menace. Tiny shadows flicker, traces of life too small to see, but enough to remind any observer of the constant struggle for survival. Here sound is fleeting, dissipated quickly across the open expanse, leaving an oppressive silence that magnifies every subtle movement. The wind becomes a distant echo, the shifting sands a muted percussion, and the desert feels alive in its vast, indifferent stillness. Rising and falling dunes create corridors of shadow and light, perfect concealment for creatures that move unseen, their presence betrayed only by fleeting traces in the sand. The sky overhead, an endless dome of fading blue, deepens toward indigo as evening approaches and the first stars begin to prick the horizon. A sense of anticipation hangs in the air, as if the desert itself is waiting a stage set for those who must navigate its extremes, where one misstep can mean the difference between life and death. Even as the heat wanes and shadows lengthen, the desert remains relentless. It is a place of stark contrasts, light and darkness, silence, and the rare sound of distant movement, life and the ever-present threat of mortality. The dunes whisper secrets in their slow, inexorable shift, carrying stories of countless hunters and prey that have traversed this unforgiving landscape. The vast open silence is both mesmerizing and menacing, a reminder that in the desert, survival is measured in the smallest movements, the subtlest signs, and the unyielding patience of those who inhabit it. In the vast, arid expanse of the desert, the pharaoh eagle owl emerges as a master of stealth and precision. Its broad wings stretch gracefully when in flight, allowing it to glide silently over the dunes, barely disturbing the fragile air currents. The mottled plumage blends seamlessly with the sand and rocky outcrops, a perfect camouflage against the shifting colors of the landscape. Its eyes, large and amber-hued, catch every subtle movement in the fading light, reflecting the faint glimmers of stars as night slowly claims the sky. Powerful talons, curved and precise, are perfectly suited to grasping unsuspecting prey that wanders too close to the owl's domain. Adaptation to the harsh desert environment is evident in every feature. The ear tufts prominent against its rounded head are not merely decorative. They aid in detecting the faintest rustle of a rodent or the flutter of a lizard across the sand. Even in the near-total silence of the wind-swept dunes, these owls can locate their prey with astounding accuracy. Their hearing, refined over generations, compensates for the absence of cover and the scarcity of sound that defines open desert hunting. Every movement, every shadow becomes a signal, a cue, that informs the owl's next glide or stoop. Within the desert ecosystem, pharaoh eagle owls serve a crucial role. By preying on small mammals and insects, they help maintain the delicate balance of life in an environment where resources are limited. Their presence influences the behavior and distribution of other species, shaping patterns of movement and feeding across the sand. Though formidable hunters, they are not invincible. Their survival depends on keen senses, patience, and the ability to adapt rapidly to changing conditions, from sudden sandstorms to shifts in prey behavior. In flight, the owl's movements are deceptively slow, a measured rhythm that belies the instantaneous reactions it can summon. The soft sweep of wings over the sand is almost imperceptible, yet every beat carries the owl closer to a potential target. Even stationary, the bird exudes an imposing presence. Poised on a rocky ledge or among sparse shrubs, it surveys its surroundings with a calm intensity, a sentinel of the desert night. Its silhouette merges with the environment, a shadow among shadows, suggesting both elegance and quiet menace. The desert owl's hunting strategy is a marvel of adaptation. It relies on detecting minute movements of prey, sensing disturbances too subtle for the human eye. Shadows shifting on sand, a faint twitch of grass, or the tremor of the soil underfoot, all are interpreted and calculated, informing the owl's silent approach. Prey panic responses, often instinctive and erratic, are anticipated and exploited with remarkable precision. In conditions where traditional owl hunting should fail, where wind and open space dissipate sound and obscure visual cues, the pharaoh eagle owl thrives. This loathsome elegance, a product of evolutionary refinement, allows the species to occupy a unique niche in the desert. Each owl represents the culmination of countless generations surviving against scarcity and unpredictability. Its mastery over a landscape that challenges almost every other predator is a testament to nature's relentless ingenuity. Through camouflage, acute senses, and the silent choreography of wings and talons, the desert owl exemplifies survival against the odds, a true sentinel of the dunes. Even in the quietest moments when the desert appears utterly empty, the presence of the pharaoh eagle owl is felt. It shapes the desert's rhythm, its hunting a subtle but constant influence on the nocturnal life below. From the flicker of movement in the sand to the sudden rise of wings into moonlight, the owl asserts itself as both observer and executor, a symbol of patience, precision, and dominance in an environment where every miscalculation carries a heavy price. The desert night deepens, and the stillness that blankets the dunes seems almost absolute. Yet beneath this silence, life stirs, and the first signs of potential danger begin to ripple across the sand. Tiny movements betray the presence of desert rodents, their cautious forays into open space, measured and tentative, every twitch of a whisker a calculated risk. Even in the absence of sound, the environment itself becomes a map of clues, shifting shadows, subtle changes in the sand's surface, and the faint shimmer of heat reflecting off stone and dune. These minor disturbances are enough to signal opportunity or threat to those attuned to the desert's hidden language. The owl, a master of this realm, senses the slightest tremor, the most fleeting shadow. Across the dunes, the prey's eyes reflect faint moonlight, scanning for predators whose presence cannot be heard. A subtle breeze carries no significant noise, yet every gust shapes perception, scattering scent and sound in unpredictable ways. In this environment, the desert owl must compensate for what traditional hunters would consider an acoustic void. Its attention is unbroken, every feather poised to respond to micro-movements, every muscle prepared for instantaneous reaction. Competition adds another layer of tension. Other nocturnal predators, agile and patient, traverse overlapping territories. Foxes, snakes, and opportunistic birds navigate the same terrain, each movement a potential threat or interference. The owl must distinguish between genuine prey and the misleading cues generated by rivals. Shadows flicker as creatures pass between dunes, creating false patterns that could misdirect or delay the hunt. The margin for error is vanishingly small. Hesitation can mean a lost opportunity or a confrontation the owl cannot afford. Within the dunes, topography itself presents danger. Sudden drops, unstable sand ridges, and rocky outcrops interrupt the continuity of movement. The owl's perceptual acuity is tested with every glide, every landing. Micro-movements in sand can signal a concealed predator or a trembling rodent. Shadows cast across undulating surfaces can mask or reveal potential targets. The interplay of light, sand, and motion forms a complex visual puzzle that must be interpreted without reliance on sound. Each calculated adjustment in position or angle can determine the success or failure of a forthcoming attack. As the tension rises, the desert owl hovers silently above scanning expanses of pale undulating sand for telltale signs. Even the most subtle movement, a fleeting tail, a rustle of tiny feet, registers as significant. The owl's strategy involves more than detection. It is a choreography of patience and timing. A misjudged glide could alert prey to danger or waste valuable energy. Each decision is informed not by instinct alone, but by a finely tuned assessment of environmental cues honed over generations. The prey themselves exhibit behaviors shaped by evolution. Sudden freezes, erratic skittering, and fleeting retreats into shadowed hollows. The owl anticipates these reactions, adjusting altitude, wing angle, and descent velocity accordingly. In such a landscape where sound fails and visibility is limited, the coordination between perception and action must be flawless. The desert becomes a silent theater of suspense, every ripple in sand and shadow contributing to the tension of an unfolding, unseen encounter. Meanwhile, environmental conditions exacerbate the challenge. Gusts of wind shift the sand unpredictably, erasing tracks and creating false disturbances. Pockets of warm air refract the faint moonlight, producing illusions that can mask prey or suggest threats where none exist. Even in near-total acoustic absence, the desert communicates in subtle signs that the owl must decode. Each movement, each shadow, each tremor carries information vital to survival. As the night deepens further, a delicate balance emerges. Predator and prey watsu within a system of heightened awareness, where every action has immediate consequences. The desert owl navigates this tension with unerring precision, responding to micro-movements and shadowed cues, its survival contingent on the flawless interpretation of a world designed to obscure. In this first confrontation with the silent challenges of the desert, the owl's abilities are tested against environmental obstacles and the evasive strategies of prey and competitors alike, setting the stage for the hunt to come. The desert night reaches its full depth as the pharaoh eagle owl prepares to strike. From above, it glides silently, wings barely stirring the air, each beat measured and controlled. The dune ridges below are alive with subtle movements, the faint tremor of tiny paws, the flash of whiskers in moonlight shadows shifting across sand pockets. Every instinct honed over countless generations converges into this single moment of potential action. The owl hovers momentarily, scanning for the slightest micro-movement that betrays the location of prey. Suddenly, a small rodent emerges from the shelter of a low dune, its movements cautious, tentative, yet unmistakable against the pale sand. The owl adjusts its trajectory, wings folding slightly to alter the glide, talons extending as it prepares for the final descent. The wind carries no meaningful sound. The desert silence amplifies the tension, every subtle motion magnified against the still backdrop. The prey freezes instinctively, whiskers twitching, eyes wide, its body taut with uncertainty, unaware that the predator above has already calculated the path of approach. With a sudden sweep, the owl descends, talons slicing through the faint shimmer of moonlight. Dust erupts where claws graze the surface, and the rodent reacts in a chaotic burst, darting for cover. The owl anticipates this instinctive panic, adjusting speed and angle mid-air. Its movements are fluid, a choreography of precision, dictated entirely by environmental cues. Each adjustment is critical. Too fast, and the prey may escape. Too slow, and energy is wasted in a desert where every jewel counts. Other nocturnal hunters stir nearby, their presence creating distractions. A fox slinks along the ridge, a lizard scuttles into shadow, and the owl must maintain focus, ignoring false signals. Shadows overlap and flicker, sand shifts under unseen paws, and the hunter must separate real cues from deceptive ones. In this moment, perception and action must align perfectly. The slightest misreading could squander a vital opportunity or lead to an energy-draining pursuit. The owl's talons strike with precision, grasping at the fleeing prey. Yet the rodent twists unexpectedly, narrowly escaping into the cover of a rocky hollow. The wings beat in rapid succession, and the predator adjusts, landing lightly on a nearby dune, talons gripping shifting sand to maintain balance. The chaos of movement is a silent ballet. Dust rises in clouds, shadows elongate and distort, and the desert seems to hold its breath. Each motion, though violent in purpose, is almost imperceptible in sound, preserving the secrecy of the hunt. Across the dunes, the owl repositions wings, spread for balance, eyes locked on new, subtle movements. Prey tremors barely visible indicate panic and erratic flight. The hunter interprets these signals instantly, calculating descent angles, velocity, and landing sites. Every micro-movement is meaningful. Every shadow could signify opportunity or false alarm. The desert's stillness intensifies the suspense, and the tension is palpable, as if time itself has slowed to accommodate the precise choreography of predator and prey. As the chase unfolds, success is measured not by speed alone, but by adaptability. The owl's reactions are immediate, wings flexing to absorb unexpected shifts, body tilting to compensate for sudden sandslides, talons retracting and extending with flawless timing. The rodent, desperate and unpredictable, darts between sparse vegetation, creating a mosaic of movement that tests the predator's ability to anticipate, react, and commit with perfect timing. Each instant is critical. The margin for error is vanishingly thin. Moments later, the owl executes a final descent, talons extended and wings angled for balance. Dust clouds erupt from the sand, illuminated by moonlight, creating ephemeral patterns that obscure the view. The prey attempts a last frantic maneuver, but the predator intercepts, talons closing in with remarkable precision. The capture, or near capture, is a testament to the owl's silent, efficient mastery of its environment. The desert, silent and indifferent, witnesses the culmination of strategy, patience, and evolutionary refinement. After the immediate action, the owl perches briefly, wings folding with controlled grace, surveying the surrounding dunes. Shadows shift subtly in response to the last movements, and the tension gradually dissipates. The scene, though now quieter, retains a lingering sense of suspense. The desert has been tested, and both predator and prey have navigated its challenges through instinct and adaptation. The hunt, in all its silent drama, embodies the harsh and meticulous rhythms of desert life, where every action is dictated by precision, awareness, and survival. As the first light of dawn touches the edges of the desert, a quieter rhythm settles over the dunes. The nocturnal frenzy fades, giving way to the subtle pulse of life that governs the survival of the pharaoh eagle owl. Even in the stark, arid landscape, the processes of reproduction and care continue with a relentless insistence, a testament to the resilience of the species. Nests are often nestled in the sparse protection of rocky crevices or beneath the twisted roots of hardy shrubs, offering minimal concealment from the harsh elements and the prying eyes of other desert inhabitants. Each clutch of eggs represents a fragile promise of continuity, dependent not only on the vigilance of the parent, but also on the capricious conditions of the environment. The act of incubation is a study in patience and balance. The adult owl must regulate its presence, carefully alternating between guarding the eggs and foraging for sustenance. The desert offers little in the way of abundance. Each meal is a calculated effort, harvested from a terrain that reveals its prey only in subtle hints, a flicker in the sand, a shadow at the edge of vision. Energy expenditure is a critical factor. Every flight must be efficient, every movement purposeful, for the survival of both parent and offspring. The eggs, unguarded even briefly, are exposed to temperature extremes and the constant risk of predation, underscoring the precariousness of desert life. When the chicks emerge, their vulnerability becomes starkly apparent. Tiny bodies, downy feathers, and uncoordinated movements mark the beginning of a perilous journey. The adult's care is methodical and instinct-driven. Food is delivered with precision. The chicks learn to recognize movement and shadow as guides for survival long before they can truly fly or hunt. Despite the absence of direct observation from humans, this process is intensely cinematic in its own right, a study of patience, instinct, and the inherent tension between fragility and the unforgiving environment. Throughout this stage, the desert continues to impose its relentless trials. Sandstorms may obscure the landscape, shifting terrain beneath the chicks' feet, and testing the resilience of both the young and the adult. Temperatures swing wildly from freezing nights to scorching days, demanding that the owl constantly adjust its behavior to preserve energy and protect the brood. Predators from foxes to snakes loom as ever-present threats, invisible until too close, emphasizing the necessity for vigilance, adaptability, and swift, silent responses. The feeding routines reveal a delicate choreography. Adults must locate, capture, and deliver prey in a landscape where sound carries poorly and shadows deceive the eye. Rodents and insects form the core of the diet, each delivery a measure of the owl's efficiency and the chick's growing capability to respond to subtle cues. Observing this dynamic, the interplay between hunter-offspring and environment unfolds as a complex, silent narrative, where survival is constantly negotiated through instinct, timing, and adaptation. Even in the most mundane actions, perching, shifting body weight, scanning the horizon, the adults display a nuanced mastery of their surroundings. The chicks gradually begin to mimic these behaviors, honing reflexes that will one day enable them to navigate the same acoustic and visual challenges that define the desert. Every twitch of a feather, every adjustment in position carries significance. The survival of the next generation depends on these silent lessons. The fragile existence of the young, juxtaposed against the relentless expanse of the desert, amplifies the cinematic tension. Shadows stretch across sand and rock, the interplay of light and terrain, creating ephemeral patterns that challenge perception and test instinct. Each moment is a potential turning point. A sudden gust, a shifting dune, or an unseen predator can transform calm into chaos, underscoring the constant vigilance demanded by life in this environment. By mid-morning, a rhythm emerges. The owls move with deliberate, graceful precision, each flight and landing calculated to minimize risk and conserve energy. Chicks observe and respond, gradually internalizing patterns of movement, feeding, and survival that will define their ability to thrive independently. The desert, though silent, communicates endlessly cues in shifting sand. Subtle temperature changes and imperceptible motions guide behavior, inform decisions, and reinforce the intricate link between parent-offspring and environment. As the day progresses, the focus on reproduction and brood care fades into the broader narrative of life in the desert. The pharaoh eagle owl, through its methodical strategies, ensures that the cycle continues, species perpetuation against the odds. Life persisting in a landscape defined by scarcity, silence, and extreme conditions. The stage is set for the next challenge, the next hunt, and the continuation of the species' silent mastery of one of the harshest environments on Earth. The desert enters the heart of night once again, yet the challenges faced by its inhabitants intensify with every passing hour. The terrain itself becomes an adversary. Shifting dunes, rocky outcrops, and sudden depressions conceal hazards that could thwart even the most skilled hunters. The wind, unpredictable and capricious, sweeps across the sand, masking movement and creating deceptive ripples. In this environment, where sound is nearly non-existent and visual cues are fragmented, the pharaoh eagle owl must navigate a complex and hostile landscape, relying solely on its honed perception and instinct. Compounding the challenge are the other nocturnal predators that roam these dunes. Foxes and snakes, adapted to the desert's harshness, move silently, exploiting the same micro-movements and shadowed cues that the owl depends upon. Their presence generates false signals, unexpected disturbances, that test the owl's ability to discriminate between prey and decoys. Each miscalculation carries the potential for wasted energy or missed opportunity, a costly error in a habitat where every resource is precious and survival hinges on precision. The nocturnal prey alert and responsive also contribute to the escalating tension. Rodents, reptiles, and insects employ a variety of evasive strategies. Sudden freezes, erratic scuttling, and burrow retreats. Their behaviors are instinctive yet unpredictable, introducing uncertainty into the owl's calculations. In a desert where wind disperses sound and open spaces offer little concealment, the owl must rely on micro-movement detection and subtle shadow cues, translating environmental hints into immediate decisive action. As the hunt progresses, the owl must continually adapt to environmental flux. Sand shifts beneath its wings during glides, altering lift and approach angles. Heat pockets refract moonlight, producing optical illusions that mask prey or mislead the eye. Gusts of wind sweep across the dunes, erasing tracks, distorting shadows, and creating transient visual noise. The owl's success depends on interpreting these signals correctly and responding with near instantaneous precision. The interplay between predator, prey, and environment becomes a silent dialogue of movement and perception, a battle of instincts conducted in near total acoustic absence. In certain stretches of the desert, water sources emerge as both opportunity and threat. A shallow reflective pool may attract prey, yet also expose the hunter to detection by rival predators. The owl navigates these zones, cautiously adjusting flight paths and hunting strategies to account for the interplay of light reflection and motion. Its approach is always calculated. Talons flex, wings angle for stability, eyes scan continuously for subtle shifts in terrain and behavior. The desert, indifferent to life or death, amplifies the consequences of error, enforcing a relentless discipline on all who inhabit it. The intensity escalates further when a sandstorm begins to stir on the horizon. The air thickens, reducing visibility and subtly altering temperature and airflow. Small creatures seek shelter, their micro-movements hastened and exaggerated, while the owl must recalibrate its sensory interpretation. Each dune crest and shadowed hollow becomes a potential obstacle or hiding place, demanding rapid adjustments in strategy. The predator's ability to anticipate prey behavior, respond to environmental distortion, and execute near-perfect timing is put to the ultimate test. Across the dunes, competing predators exploit these conditions in parallel. A fox may emerge from a rocky crevice, its keen senses alerting it to the same subtle movements that guide the owl. Snakes glide beneath the sand undetected until a twitch betrays their position. The owl must distinguish between these external disturbances and the signals from genuine prey, maintaining focus amid sensory noise and heightened uncertainty. Every decision is a calculated risk. Every maneuver an exercise in evolutionary honed judgment. At the climax of this challenge, the owl descends rapidly toward a small cluster of prey. Shadows flicker and sand swirls as the predator adjusts its glide, mid-air talons, poised for capture. Prey scatter instinctively, some seeking cover under sparse shrubs, others freezing in anticipation of an attack. The owl interprets these responses with precision, modulating its approach to exploit erratic movements and maximize the likelihood of success. Dust and debris erupt in fleeting clouds, illuminated by pale moonlight, transforming the dunes into a stage of silent chaos, a ballet of life instinct and survival. Even when individual attacks succeed or fail, the broader challenge persists. The desert's conditions, wind-shifting sand-sparse cover, competing predators remain unforgiving. The owl's adaptations, though extraordinary, are continuously tested against an environment designed to obscure, confuse, and challenge. The delicate equilibrium between predator-prey and the unforgiving landscape exemplifies the harsh realities of desert life, where mastery of instinct, perception, and timing dictates the survival of the species. As dawn slowly approaches, the owl's activity diminishes, but the intensity of the night lingers in the sand, in the shifting shadows, and in the subtle disturbances across the dunes. The high-stakes trial of the desert has tested endurance, skill, and adaptation. The pharaoh eagle owl, through silent observation, precise calculation, and flawless execution, has navigated a labyrinth of challenges that few other creatures could endure. This second confrontation with the desert's extreme conditions reinforces the species' evolutionary ingenuity, its mastery over a realm where sound fails and survival depends on heightened perception and unwavering focus. As the desert sky lightens with the first hints of dawn, the dunes settle once more into their vast, quiet expanse. The night's struggles leave subtle traces, disturbed sand, fleeting shadows, and the echo of movements now faded. But the desert itself remains indifferent. Life continues, shaped by the relentless rhythm of survival and adaptation. The pharaoh eagle owl, like countless generations before, it persists through instinct, precision, and the silent mastery of an environment that offers no mercy to the unwary. The cycle of life in this arid expanse is unyielding. Hunting, reproduction, and rearing young are not optional. They are imperatives imposed by the environment. Each egg laid, each chick nurtured, each prey captured contributes to the continuation of a species finely tuned to the desert's extremes. The balance of predator and prey, the interplay of shadow and micro-movement, and the subtle cues of wind and terrain all form an intricate network of survival, one that demands constant attention, adaptation, and skill. Within this framework, every movement is consequential. The desert communicates silently through shifting sands, scattered debris, and the faintest tremors of life. The owl interprets these signs with unerring accuracy, its survival intertwined with an understanding of patterns that the human eye can barely discern. Prey respond instinctively. Predators navigate shared territories cautiously, and the environment itself imposes limitations and opportunities. In this delicate equilibrium, life is governed by observation, reaction, and timing, rather than chance or luck. The desert also imparts a broader perspective on existence. Even in moments of apparent calm, the underlying tension of survival persists. Every creature, from the smallest rodent to the silent sentinel of the dunes, participates in a continuous negotiation with the environment. Life is transient, fragile, and yet profoundly persistent. The pharaoh eagle owl's mastery of stealth perception and timing exemplifies how evolution shapes behavior and adaptation, ensuring that the species endures despite relentless challenges. As sunlight spreads across the dunes, the contours of the desert landscape are illuminated in soft, muted tones. Shadows stretch and recede, creating patterns that will guide both predator and prey in the hours to come. The cyclical nature of the desert day and night, hunt and rest, survival and loss, underscores a fundamental truth. Life here is unrelenting, exacting, and defined by adaptation. The owl, like the desert itself, embodies this equilibrium, a sentinel of both challenge and continuity. In the final quiet of the dawn, the desert stands as a testament to resilience. Survival is not guaranteed yet. Through skill, instinct, and evolutionary refinement, life persists. The pharaoh eagle owl, navigating its world with precision and patience, exemplifies the harsh elegance of desert existence. The cycle continues: silent hunters, vigilant prey, shifting sands, and the enduring rhythm of survival. In this vast expanse, every moment, every micro-movement, and every choice reflects the profound and unyielding principles of life, where adaptation ensures continuity and mastery of the environment defines survival.